Hi, welcome back to Yeti at Large. Thank you for joining us today. In today's segment of Communication Principles in the Workplace, we're going to be talking about the power of please and thank you. This should be one of the shorter segments because it's really just that simple, but we do need to explain a couple of facets from that. Letting people know that you are available, you're present, you're connected to them. That's where this all starts. If you walk in and you have nothing of value to add to the transaction and you're rude and inconsiderate and short with people, that's going to make it obviously a lot more difficult. However, if you just come in and you're gracious and patient with people and, hey, may I please interrupt you? I can see that you're busy. I appreciate your contributions and thank you, can help, but you still have to have something of value to add to the transaction for the power of this fundamental to take hold. I will start with the simple premise of that you have to work hard. There is no substitute. There never will be a substitute. There are no shortcuts. You have to work hard. The key is to be busy in working at something that you find enjoyable, something that's fun, something where your passion is. And then you hear all the sayings that at that point you can't tell if they're playing at work or working at play, and that if it's your passion, it's not really, you never did a day of work in your life. Casey Neistat, when you're looking at YouTube, his core message was work hard. Be good to people, be happy, do something you enjoy, but work hard. You have to work hard. There is no substitute for it. I love the old saying that he was an overnight success 20 years in the making. I don't know how many subscribers or views this video and channel will have when you're viewing it, but at the time this was made, there were 23 subscribers, and my average video in this series had 12 views. It takes hard work, and if you're not busy about contributing something of significant value to the transaction, all the please and thank yous, all of the phrasing things in the form of a question, utilizing the powers of three, none of that's going to matter. You're already busy about quiet quitting. You just may not realize it yet. So work hard. Add something of value. Be somebody that other people can rely on. That is important. If the current job that you're in, so those are the preface for the power of please and thank you. And I have very few notes on this, and I don't have my paper notes with me today, and I couldn't resist the urge of using this little scene here to set the video, and the sound of this creek and the appearance of this creek is far more valuable than anything I'm going to tell you today. The power of please and thank you. The best part about that is it doesn't cost you a thing. I love that scene in Men in Black when Will Smith tells Tommy Lee Jones that he needs to work on his people skills, and he responds, please fasten your seatbelt. Now, you guys got to put on a seatbelt. You shouldn't have to be nice to people. Sometimes you should just do the fundamentals, but it doesn't cost you a thing to be gracious and acknowledge that. Like I said in a previous video, my published expectations to my squad included the phrase that the first time I may ask for a thing, it may have please and thank you attached to it. Doesn't make it any less of an order. The second time may not be as pleasant, and the third time may come with disciplinary action. Disciplinary action, the write-up, that kind of stuff, the progressive discipline scale. If you've gotten to that point, you've failed as a leader. I'm just telling you. Every time I've gotten to that point, I've looked back and seen where I could have done better, where I could have done something different. I took responsibility for my failure. Anytime I make those kinds of statements, I'm just talking about me. You'll have to make your own value judgments on where things land for you. But it doesn't cost you anything. That's the power of it. Recognize that people are busy. We've covered a little bit of this in the past. Hey, please, may I interrupt you? I can see that you're busy. Yeah, what do you need? I need some help with this, and I'm in a position where something you have is of value to me. If you could provide that, I'd be very grateful. Saying that you're grateful, saying that you appreciate somebody. It's another way of saying thank you. John Mackey, CEO of Whole Foods. If you don't know his story, you should look him up and look at his story. Profoundly unique and independent character. Very complex but simple person to understand. But he would tell people, his store team leaders, I appreciate you. And it became part of their culture to share those appreciations with people. Moving that forward. And then one important function of the power of please and thank you is the pause. Take time, slow down, slow the transaction down. Wait for a moment. Even when people respond, I would recommend that you read the room and see if a pause would apply after that. If you need something from somebody that falls under the purview of the transactional nature of your employment situation, and they respond, maybe wait and give them more air, more room. If their response isn't as robust as you would have liked, that's the time to use that pause and leave some space. Give them time to keep talking. Go back to an earlier video, we talked about the read technique. Romeo, Echo, Echo, Delta, read. In that read technique, one of the things that you do is leave those pauses. Most of us, myself included, don't prefer the sound of empty air and space when somebody's right there, and people may naturally move to fill that. If you can master this simple little skill of using the pause, it may bring the best out in people. Going back to the simple roots of the power of please and thank you. One of my favorite hobbies, I used to race mountain bikes. I did over 121 races in my career, starting in the late 80s and through the 90s and early 2000s. Now, I was never very good, but I was just good enough that I could see the front of the race, but never good enough to actually ever win a really big race. I quickly developed a job taking care of the people on my team that could win those races. Being a good domestique doesn't apply as much in mountain biking as it does on the road, but it can be very useful. I even did a handful of road races where I fulfilled that role excellent. But it was because of my ability to say please and thank you throughout that transaction that I got dozens of bicycles given to me that I never paid for. Broke a lot of bicycles because I'm uncoordinated too. I got jerseys, I got entry fees, I got money, I got food, I got access to things way beyond my skill set and ability racing a bicycle. A lot of that came with the power of please and thank you. A lot of it goes back to that understanding the nature of the transaction at hand. This wasn't necessarily a job, but if I had done quiet quitting in my hobby as a mountain bike racer, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. Instead, it was something I enjoyed. I quiet promoted and I worked as hard as I could. Once in a blue moon, I had a pretty spectacular result and I had a lot of fun doing it. But overwhelmingly, my job was to take the bicycle that was given to me, wearing the jersey that was given to me, and go in the race and take good care of the Conejo Rojo, the red rabbit, the guy that could score the win for our team. The power of please and thank you gave me access to something amazing. I went all over the country. I even raced in Olympic qualifiers when mountain biking was entered as an Olympic sport. Never got enough points to do anything with it and go anywhere. That was for the big dogs. But I got to do something that was profoundly valuable to me, just from the power of please and thank you. Remember, these timeless principles of communication will never fail. Don't buy into this fad language and fad trends. If you continue to work hard, bring something of value to the transaction at your place of employment, you will experience some success. Let's restate those basic principles we did in the very first segment. Diplomacy. Being diplomatic doesn't mean you just compromise on your position. Equity. Not using the word fairness, I'm using the word equity. Is it equal? Is there something in it of value for everybody involved? Meritocracy. Merit. Is there merit in what you're doing? Is there merit in what you're contributing? Patience. Are you slowing down? Are you allowing the situation to develop? And again, there's times and jobs where you have to move fast, you have to think fast, you have to act quickly, but not in the communication principles that we're outlining in more of a quiet quitting sense. And then observation. How well are you reading the room? How well are you seeing what's going on? Couldn't resist it. This is beautiful. And this is another one of these small properties that we're going to be featuring on this channel. I want to thank you for joining us today. We're going to be wrapping up our series next, and we may include a couple of bonus essays. But in the meantime, thank you. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.